lovely people, my name is Sharon. I'm from the Tumblr blog Growing Thinner, which is where you're watching this because that's where I'm posting it. So there we go. I don't know why I bothered saying that, but I just thought I should have like a little introduction. So there it is. Basically, in the last couple of weeks, I've been mentioning a fiction piece that I'm doing for English. That actually incorporates a lot of personal experience, so it's like fiction in inverted commas kind of thing. And a lot of you said you wanted to hear it, so I've got it right here to read out today. And I actually handed it in today as well. And my English teacher started reading it as I was walking out of the classroom, and I was like, oh crap, you know, the tension. I just had to get out of there quickly. And I'm really scared that he's gonna like judge me or something, but it's too late now, it's done, so I'm just going to read it to you guys, and if I start crying, just ignore me, because when I was rereading it to myself, I did start crying because it's quite close to my heart, but just ignore me, I'm sorry. So yeah, here we go. Yeah, okay. Skinny. It was the first thing I thought of as I awoke, and the last thing I thought of before I finally drifted off to sleep. It had kept me up most nights until I was prescribed with my sleeping pills. Oh, and the pills. I'm taking so many these days I've lost count. When my mother had first started to become worried about me, she tried to make me take so many vitamins, but I had caught on that they would make me gain weight, so I began to crush them up and wash them down the sink, until eventually I just gave up pretending. I've done that a lot recently. I would try so hard to pretend that there was nothing going on. I'd learned all the right things to say. I don't feel well. I ate before I came. Nothing seemed to work these days, and anyway, hiding everything no longer seemed important. Nobody could make me eat no matter how hard they try. Everything else seemed to be in someone else's control, my parents, my grandparents, my teachers, but not this. This was totally up to me, or at least that's what everyone had thought. I felt like I was cheating them somehow, because the truth was, I hadn't gotten to this stage completely of my own accord. The voice was who I really had to thank for my current physical state. A kind of guardian angel, she watched over everything I did, helped me to resist the heaping temptations of food. What are you doing, Jen? You can't eat that. Think of what it will do to your body. You've come so far now, you're not just going to throw it all away, are you? And I wasn't. As much as I hated her sometimes, the voice was the only one who truly understood me. No one else truly cared about me, surely. Or why would they be trying so hard to ruin all that I'd worked for? All that we'd worked for? With each passing moment I could feel myself growing thinner and thinner. I knew these were hunger pains, of course, but I couldn't bear to think of them that way. And oh, the bones. I loved my bones more than I had ever loved a person. My own older brother had made a point of telling me how prominent they'd become. I just find it kind of creepy to be able to see someone's skeleton through their skin, he had told me. Does it scare you, Matthew? Does it chill you to the bone? Oh, I'm so glad you've noticed. They're beautiful, aren't they, my bones? I just wish they weren't so hidden. I know you tell me time and time again how clearly visible they are, but I just don't see it. You don't understand the importance of these bones, none of you do. The voice understands, tells me how much better I could be if only I'd put in the effort. All these people around me that are supposed to love me, they want me to fail. They can't really care at all, or they would be here to support me instead of trying to stop me from succeeding. They're selfish. They don't care about what's important to me, but not the voice. She's the only one who truly cares about me, helps me on my road to perfection. There, I said it. Perfection. Such a beautiful word, isn't it? That could be me. It could all be mine if only I was stronger, tried harder. I could feel myself becoming weaker and weaker by the day, but it was just this weakness that gave me my inner strength. So even though I was feeling physically weaker than I ever had before, I knew it was because I was becoming a stronger person, gaining back my control from the dark side. It was only since I got into the hospital that I'd started referring to the voice as Anna. I'd woken up in a bed hooked up to so many wires I'd lost count. It was hard to keep my attention on anything these days. The room was crowded with people, and as I opened my eyes, they rushed to my side, except my aunt, who disappeared and came back with a doctor and two nurses soon after. They began to speak to me in hushed tones, but it was all a blur, and I couldn't register most of what they were telling me. I heard my name, collapsed on the floor, exhaustion, and then those dreaded two words, eating disorder. I'd been accused of having one before, of course, but I'd never believed it. I wasn't thin enough to actually have a problem, surely. If I had an ED, how did they explain the fact that I was so fat? Fat, fat, fat! That was what I was, and I hated it, hated myself. I couldn't see how the people around me couldn't seem to see it. Were they blind? It was so frustrating to me to have to deny it so often, and yet still not be believed. Why were they even asking me if they weren't going to believe what I told them? Deep down, I knew it. Deep down, Anna was always Anna. I loved her and I hated her and I wanted her to disappear and I never wanted her to go. Despite whatever I was feeling at the time, I knew I wanted to please her. Even if I wanted to let go, I couldn't. She was the one thing that was consistent in my life, something I had to work for, held on to. Yet, if I was being brutally honest about the situation, I could see it was not only I that was suffering at the hands of Anna. Although it was hard to face, everyone around me was also dealing with her wrath. If they tried to stand up to her, they felt it. They felt it through me. My darling mother, I'm so sorry I couldn't be the daughter you wanted. I'm sorry I kept you up worrying through the night, screamed at you when you were only trying to save me, made you cry. I'm sorry for all the times you lovingly prepared my meals in the hope that I would just eat enough to stay alive, and I couldn't even be bothered to secretly dispose of them any longer. Every time I carried a full plate back to the kitchen, and I saw you die a little inside. When I would awake at 3 a.m. to hear you rooting through the bins, unable to get the idea out of your head that I'd hidden my food in them. The time I woke up in the early hours of the morning to find your face millimetres from my own. You'd come to check if I was still breathing because it was keeping you up through the night. The idea that your own little girl could have given up hope just down the hallway. It breaks my heart, the idea of doing this to you, knowing that whatever I was feeling would be running through your own mind, that whatever pain I was feeling would be running through your own mind 1,000 times worse. I'm sorry for doing this to you, Mummy. Sorry that I was not able to overcome my own selfishness. And Dad, you tried to tell me what I was doing to her, doing to everyone. Although many people had told me how skinny and unhealthy I was becoming, you were the only one who had outright and blatantly told me I was killing myself. I could see that a lot of people thought I was dying, but I didn't want to accept it. I saw you saying so to me as a cruel bid to upset me, but I know that wasn't really your plan. You wanted to give me a reality check because you were just as worried as everyone else. It was too late by then, though. Anna had already taken control. Maybe if I'd tried harder, I could have gained it back, but I didn't want to, Dad. Not really, and you knew it. Maybe I should have tried harder, but it's not quite that simple. You can't avoid yourself. You can't decide not to see yourself anymore. You can't switch off the voice in your head. All you can do is try to cope with the situation the best way you can. And I like to think that's what I did. My baby brother Thomas, I'm sorry I took all the attention when you were the one who needed it most. Everyone had just assumed you weren't a smart child. They had no idea about your dyslexia. Maybe if I'd been there for you instead of being so wrapped up in myself, I could have helped. I didn't mean to be so selfish, Tommy, I'm sorry. And now, how you barely pay attention to me, like all this doesn't bother you. I can see that's not true, though. We all can. That's just your way of coping, I know. I should have been a better big sister. I was supposed to be there to protect you, but instead I was the one asking for protection. And from myself, of all people. I'm sorry I wasn't the big sister you deserved. Oh, and Matthew, my wonderful older brother. You were not at all shy in telling me just what you thought of me. I wanted you to like me so much. Always looked up to you. I remember when I was younger and you'd make fun of me for being fat. I tried so hard to stop it, lose the weight so that you would be happy with me. Even at 10 years old, I know how important it was to you, but it didn't make you happy, did it, Matthew? You turned to making remarks that were just the opposite, and it tore me up inside. I'd always wanted you to like me, and I never got there. I'm sorry I couldn't be the sister you wanted, but it's all I'd ever tried to achieve. Sorry. My eyelids felt so heavy as I struggled to open them. As I looked around at my family, my parents by my side, Matthew at the end of my bed, and far off in a chair in the corner of the room, I could just make out little Thomas. I no longer felt any pain, just the overwhelming feeling of closure. I weakly opened my mouth, intending to get out those last 3 words, but I just couldn't find the strength to settle for one. Sorry, I whispered, as I gently closed my eyes for the last time and went to sleep. I'm coming for you, Anna. I hope I finally made you proud. Okay, that's it. I'm sorry for crying, but I'm done now, so yeah, thank you for watching. It's very long, I know, so if you're still here, hi, thanks. I'm gonna go now. Love you all. Speak to you soon. Bye.